Good morning. This is very exciting to see you all here. My name is Pramila Jayapal, and I'm proudly the state senator from the 37th Legislative District, which includes Seattle, South Seattle, Skyway, and Renton. And I want to say that this bill has been an incredible collaborative effort with Senator David Frockt, with Representative Jayapal, and we're also very thrilled to have with us other members, colleagues from the House and the Senate, Senators Lias, Habib, and Representative Hansen. And I also want to recognize some people that we have been working with as we've developed this bill who would have liked to be here, and in fact one of them will be here later today, and so you might be able to catch her, and that is Chancellor Christine Johnson from the Community Colleges of Spokane. And she actually sent a quote to read, which I will tell you now. This legislation would support our goal to increase post-secondary education attainment levels in our region. And also President David Rule from Bellevue Community College, President Gary Ortley from South Seattle Community College, and we'll have a chance to hear from Elizabeth Pluta, who's also here from South Seattle College in a moment, President Rich Cummins from Columbia Basin Community College in Yakima, Jill Wakefield from the Seattle Colleges, Chancellor of the Seattle Colleges, David Mitchell from Olympic College, and I want to recognize Juliet, where are you, Juliet Schindler-Kelly from College Success Foundation, who has been incredibly helpful, and you'll see this chart, one of these charts up here, that she has developed with us to sort of show how the whole landscape is laid out for this particular field. And I also want to recognize Alyssa Goss. Where are you, Alyssa? Okay, she's not here. And there's Representative Lillian Ortiz-Self. Thank you so much for joining us as well. And Marty Brown, thank you so much for being here from the board. So with that, let me just start by saying that this has been an incredibly exciting proposal to develop. And the reason is that we feel that the Washington Promise, which is what we're calling this program that we're unveiling today, is really our commitment to making all Washingtonians competitive in a 21st century economy. We know that a high school diploma, while still foundational for every student, is simply not enough. And we've heard this from our institutions, from our students, from our businesses. Every corner of our society and economy is telling us that we need more. We need to provide more for our students. And so we believe that now is really the time to secure Washington's economic future by investing in a debt-free tuition program for community and technical colleges. We believe that this builds on the work that was done last year. The Republicans introduced into the state Senate, and Democrats heartily supported, around reducing tuition for 4 years. But unfortunately, we feel we need to do much, much more for our community colleges. The Washington Promise is a guarantee of full tuition assistance for students attending a public 2-year community or technical college. And we know that there are a lot of opportunities out there for those who are just coming out of high school to access help with tuition, but the Washington Promise is different in that it provides certainty for anybody, regardless of their age, to be able to go to community college, and it also ensures that we are capturing those folks in the middle class who may not qualify for our really excellent programs that we have, but still are struggling and still want to be able to send their kids to be able to get a higher education degree as well. And we know that in today's knowledge economy that our future depends on having an educated workforce. Currently, I find this statistic amazing. Washington is 39th in higher education participation. National statistics show that by 2020, an estimated 35% of all job openings are going to require at least a bachelor's degree, and another 30% will require at least some college and or an associate's degree. And 67% of all jobs in Washington state by 2018 are going to require some post-secondary education. We know that students across the state are excited about this. They're ready to learn. They're willing to meet the challenge. And yet, according to the Washington Student Achievement Council, employers are still reporting a lot of difficulty with finding people that can fill the job needs that we have in this economy. And it's been great to talk to a number of businesses who are very excited about this opportunity, looking to partner with us. Some of them have even started their own programs to advance the idea of community colleges in their workplaces. Another amazing statistic is that Washington by 2017 will have approximately 50,000 unfilled job vacancies. And that's from the Georgetown Institute Center on Education and the Workforce. We can't afford not to do this program. Washington Community College System is one of the best in the country. We're grateful to our presidents, to the board, to everybody that works, to the teachers, everybody that works in that system to make it so. And we know also that if we're able to increase access to two-year colleges, that we actually believe it's going to help to increase access to the four-year colleges, that we will see students transferring from a two-year better prepared into the four-year, driving up our four-year participation rates as well. We know that guaranteed tuition programs work, and I'm particularly proud of the program, the 13th year program at South Seattle Community College. Want to give a shout out. You'll be able to hear a little bit about that. And we also know that private sector has invested in that. The foundation that you all have established has been fantastic. I think we have private sector support out in Washington State. We held an event there in October, and some of those students and staff are here today. So we believe this is an economic and moral imperative for our state, and we're thrilled to be introducing this bill. And I particularly want to thank Senator Jayapal Frockt, who is the ranking member of Higher Ed, for being such a critical part of developing this proposal as we go forward. So with that, let me introduce to you our next speaker, which is Representative Jerry Paulette. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Opening the door to our state's community colleges with free tuition for every resident puts the dream of higher education in reach, regardless of income, regardless of where anyone lives in the state of Washington. Free access to community college is a proven way to dramatically increase high school graduation rates and to enable people to move up in their careers, obtaining workforce certificate or associate's degree, and have dramatic changes in their families' opportunities. And the barrier right now is the fact that, and we have like to just ask Representative Self to move. One of the biggest barriers here is that borrowing and student debt has doubled in the last couple of years at our community colleges at an average of $5,800 a year and taking about 3 years to get through on average. We're talking about students having to pay $2,300 or more a year out of their incomes when they graduate in order to repay loans. And that's assuming they can get through because of the cost of education, which is a major barrier. By opening the door and saying, you don't have to worry about tuition. You do not have to worry if you're a college-bound student when you were in 8th grade, but when you graduated, your parents' income slightly ticked above and you lost eligibility. There are 5,000 students a year in this state who are eligible for college bound when they sign up. But when they graduate, they're shocked to find that the promise of the open door has been closed on them, and they have to try to figure out how to borrow, work, and go to college to have that dream that they were promised. With the Washington Promise program, the promise will be real for every student. And the promise will be real for everyone who wants to return to college to improve their career and have a step up, working A lot of us are working on resolving our teacher shortage, as an example, and paraeducator shortage. They're very low-paying, hard-working jobs. It takes time to get through. We want to professionalize and improve their certifications. And this is a way to make sure they know the door is open, instead of telling people, you need to get certified, you need a certificate or a BA, but the door's closed, you have to pay for it yourself, when we're paying you only $30,000 a year. That's not fair. And this addresses all those people who want to move up in life for their families with a promise that is meaningful, and people don't have to worry about calculating whether or not they're going to qualify for a grant or loan. Thirdly, it's really important in terms of our obligations to our public school system and McCleary. We know, the research is tremendous here, that telling people if you graduate, the door is open to community college will dramatically improve graduation rates. This is an investment in our K-12 system, even if the dollars are going to people who simply have now graduated high school and are in our community college system. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Senator David Frockt.
Thank you, Representative Paulette. Thank you, Senator Jayapal, colleagues, for being here. I'm really excited about this legislation. This is something that many of us, and one of the reasons that I came to the legislature 6 years ago was to ensure that every Washingtonian had as much educational opportunity as we could possibly provide them. So we called this legislation the Washington Promise because it's about making promises and fulfilling the promises we see in the students in this room and everyone across the state. Now, we know there are many amazing things about our community and technical colleges, but one of them is different than anything else in our higher education system, and that is we have 34 different colleges in every corner of the state. They're in red districts, they're in blue districts, they're in rural counties, and of course urban counties and urban districts like we have in the city of Seattle. So we know that when the research institutions in the state are first rate, they are spread out. So for a working mom or someone who's shifting careers or a student who lives at home to have to pay the bills, a four-year college may not be in the cards initially. They may get there eventually, but their first option might be the community and technical college system, and we want to make sure they have every opportunity to do that. I would say this. Senator Jayapal mentioned the 50,000 skilled job vacancies in this state. We've had a lot of reports from the Business Roundtable and other groups just in the last couple of years on that issue. And we know that if we could fill those jobs, we would have, at an average wage, this would be roughly $2.5 billion worth of middle-class wages to the families in our state. And the business community has repeatedly said that they are short on qualified candidates for open positions. So I think we must work with the business community to increase our higher education participation rate. This was a key takeaway that I got just last fall when I attended the Chamber of Commerce Summit up in Clay Elum just last year. This was a critical point. We are among the worst in the state in higher education participation. We do very well once they get in the system, but for those who don't have access to the system, we're not getting them in the door and onto the credential that they need. We also know that our state goals are to have 70% of all of our population having some type of higher education credential by 2023. Right now, we're at 51%. And just 2 days ago, we heard in the Higher Education Committee, of which I serve as the ranking member, we heard that we need to have 500,000 more people in this state moving towards a higher education credential. So we're not going to be able to meet those goals if we just have business as usual. So I think this is a brilliant plan. It's going to take a lot of work for us to get this through. And I want to say one last thing. I'm pleased to state that Senator Mike Baumgartner from Spokane will be joining our bill as a co-sponsor, and I've talked to him again this morning. And I think it continues the trend that we've seen, One of the really positive things we've seen the last couple of years in the legislature, when we've had some very fractious issues to deal with, of bipartisan support for higher education policy and moving us in a better direction. So I'm really thrilled that we're going to be going in that direction in this bill, and I suspect we'll have more bipartisan support for this measure as well as we move forward. I now want to introduce Sarah Phillips, who we're thrilled to have from South Seattle College. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, a little nervous. My name is Sarah Phillips, and I'm a sophomore at South Seattle College and a first-generation college student. Because of this, my journey through academia has been different than most. Plagued with learning disabilities, my father barely passed high school, and my mother hadn't even had the chance to go to high school because she was taken by the Khmer Rouge at a young age. She witnessed many deaths of well-educated and associated education with death. And so both of them stayed away from higher education, which affected my life. This made school extremely hard. I remember times when I would do my homework and I wouldn't get it, and I would ask my parents to help me, and they couldn't. So I spent those nights crying. I was smart, I just didn't have the educational support that most students had. That's why I think that the Washington Promise would help a lot of the students like me who didn't have that support that they needed. My family also struggled financially, so as the oldest daughter, I had to leave community college in order to provide for them. Having the Washington Promise would mean students like me have the support that is needed to ensure success. I was able to go back to South because of the support I received, not only financially, but academically and emotionally as well. It was programs and scholarships similar to the 13th Year Promise Scholarship that helped me really succeed. Sadly, not every student had access to such programs, and it is my hope that the Washington Promise can reach those students. I am currently the Women in STEM president, along with being an active member of other student-led organizations on campus. I volunteer whenever I can for programs like Tech Bridge, the Nature Consortium, the 13th Year, and Gifts from the Earth. I am planning on transferring to the University of Washington this fall and will continue to study computer science. It is my dream to take my passion all the way and obtain a PhD in order to teach and do research at the highest level. I know that I wouldn't be where I am today without all the support I received. I wouldn't have even been able to dream something this big through everything that my family has been through. A program like Washington Promise would help other students like me follow their dreams and will continue to I will continue to encourage and support other first-generation students like me and hope that you all will do the same. Thank you.
That was fantastic. You did wonderfully well. Can we give her another round of applause? You guys better start lining up to hire her when she gets that PhD. Now it's a great honor and pleasure to introduce President Warren Brown from North Seattle Community College, who is here to talk about this program and all the great work that they're doing at North. President Brown.
And again, my name is Warren Brown. I'm the president of North Seattle College. And I'm here representing not just North Seattle College, but the Seattle College District, which includes Seattle Central, South Seattle College, and you'll hear a little bit from Dr. Pluta about South Seattle College and their 13th year, and also Seattle Vocational Institute. But beyond that, you've already heard a list of names of college presidents from across the state that are supportive of this. So I will only be speaking in the context of what's happening in Seattle. So Seattle is very excited about this, and we're happy to see the leadership that's happening in the Senate and the House here in Olympia, and we're happy to support anything that you need from us on that. And why do we say that? Because we know these programs work. We know these programs work. So one example, again, you'll hear from Dr. Pluta, deals with the 13th year and how that's successful. But we've also been watching other programs like the Kalamazoo Promise. The Kalamazoo Promise has been very impressive because there's been data to show success. And one thing that first came up was people thought, well, wouldn't it cost a lot of money to invest in free college? But what the data actually showed was for the dollars that are invested, the return are 3 times the amount. So it's about business sense. If I were to tell you that the money that you spend today will return 3 times in the future, that really is where you want to put your money. So Kalamazoo Promise showed that. But beyond that, students that have financial aid, when they have financial aid and they're paying that back once they're in that career, that money typically goes out of state to some large bank that collects the financial aid. But with the Kalamazoo Promise, because their tuition is paid for, the money goes back into the local communities. People are able to buy houses, they're able to buy cars, and really engage in civic life. So again, we know these programs work. I do want to talk a little bit about what does this look like in Seattle. I've been born and raised in Seattle, and the face and demographic of Seattle has changed, and it continues to change. What we know in Seattle is either #1 or #2 in the US as far as the percentage of residents that hold a college credential. That's great. However, when you unpack that data, you find out that Seattle is #1 or #2 in the US only because there's individuals with a college credential that's moving into Seattle for these high-paid positions. And what's happening is, when we look at Washington State as a whole, Washington State, and you heard this a bit from Representative Jayapal, Washington State is in the bottom third, again, the bottom third of all states in the US for the college going rate. So take both together. Washington State, bottom third for the college going rate, and in a city like Seattle, you have lots of individuals coming in with a bachelor's degree, a college credential. So there's compression that's happening. What's happening is there's a lot of people that have been born and raised in Seattle that are not able to get those great paying family wage jobs because they haven't had the opportunity to go to college. One thing that we know with the Kalamazoo Promise is what happened was the college going rate actually increased. And it was true for people of color as well as others, for women and men. So we know the programs work, and we're really excited by that. And for me, it's going to be fun for me to talk to students, as I talk to students currently, where there are a lot of students at North. North leads the state in the percentage of students that are part-time students. Why are they part-time students? Most of them are right around 30 years of age. They make just enough where they don't qualify for financial aid. So they have to balance a work schedule to make income with paying for their tuition. And what we also know is the one thing that hurts academic success is part-time student status. So you have a student, like a lot of the students at North Seattle College, where they have to work hard to make ends meet in a very high-priced town like Seattle, plus pay tuition. And knowing that quarter after quarter only taking one course here, one course there, that's going to hurt their success because they're not going to be able to succeed statistically. So something like this program can allow them to really focus on having a full course schedule, to be engaged in their learning, to complete faster, and to get really re-engaged with their whole career plan. And I think that's something that'll be a great equalizer again as we look at Washington as a whole of what can we do to help support Washingtonians to getting that college credential, which matters so much in the current economy. So I want to introduce Dr. Pluta, who will say a few things about the South Seattle 13th Year Program and why that is such a success.
Thank you, President Brown, and thank you to all of you for having us here today. South Seattle College began our 13th Year Promise Scholarship in 2008. And this was started by our college foundation. So it's a group of community and business leaders who got together and they heard much of the same data that you've been hearing today about the importance of higher education for students, for families, and for the economy. After learning that data, they elected to make one free year of college available to the students in our service area who are graduates of local high schools. And since then, we have seen phenomenal success. We've seen the matriculation rates from those high schools double. We've seen that those students have persistence and completion rates that exceed that of their peers. And when we've been asking students about this, they've said, the message that every single one of us as a college student matters, saying to us, College is here for all of you, and we've removed the financial barrier, which is the #1 reason students haven't been going to college. It's truly made a difference. So we're very thrilled about the Washington Promise and seeing it hopefully touch more students like Sarah Phillips. Thank you.
Very, very good. Thank you. So, questions?
Somebody explain how this actually works.
So I'll start off and then, sure. So the program is what we call a last dollar program, and it's going to come in on top of our existing financial aid programs. So, for example, if you are just above the cut line for Pell Grant, which is a federal program, or State Need Grant, you would be eligible for the Washington Promise funding that would be available to supplement. It's a tuition assistance program. Be fully covered, and then if you are below a certain line, you would also be getting a stipend to help with your living expenses. I would just point out one thing that I think is important in thinking about this. When we say we're offering something of tuition assistance or full tuition assistance, people are still going to have to work to get themselves through. You can't just live off of the what this would provide. Obviously, you're going to have maybe a side job or whatever, but it will make it easier, we think, for people to take a full load, to get them through the system quicker, and to get them onto the jobs and the knowledge economy that we think that they need to have. I think we view this as a new middle class compact. We want people who are just on the edge to be moving into the middle class, and the way to do that is to give them as much opportunity for as much educational attainment as we can give them. There are a lot of people who are not rich and not poor who are going to be helped by this, and those are people who are in the working and middle class.
Would it apply to part-time students as well?
Yes. You would have a certain amount of years. It's 5 years to actually complete. We are hoping that this would encourage people to finish quicker because we think that adds to retention and completion. And I wanted to just say that Dr. Brown's points were very well taken, and we've also built into the bill some supports for the colleges themselves as well as others to be able to provide the kinds of supports that we know students are going to need all the way through. So this is about access. It's also about retention and completion. And so we've looked fairly carefully at that, and we've heard from a lot of our colleges and nonprofits that work on this issue that we're really looking at this as comprehensively as we can, because we want to make sure that students not just enter, but actually do finish.
What would it cost, and where would money come from?
You know, we have a range, and I think what we believe is that the critical piece of this proposal is that we need to think about the investment that we're making and prioritize it in our budget. A budget is always a statement of priorities and values. So we haven't identified the funding source yet. I think what we need to do is talk about how important this is and then find the money for it. The range is anywhere from about 100 to 125 million. And that's really where that's our starting point for this. So we hope that we can make this as inclusive as possible. Like you heard, this is a proposal that isn't just about students that are coming out of high school. This is a proposal that's about students at any point in their career that are trying to get a degree that's going to allow them to enter the workforce and take the jobs that we know need to be filled.
So are you guys saying that you don't really know where the funding is coming from yet? Like the College Bound program is taxes, Tennessee program is lottery. What's this one?
I think what we're saying is let us have the discussion about how important it is. Last year, obviously, when the tuition reduction program was rolled out, we didn't talk right away about where the money was coming from. This is ultimately about our priorities and values as a state. It's about fairness and opportunity. It's about making sure that our businesses are going to be able to have the workers that they need, the skilled workforce that they need, and that we're going to need to make sure we have that discussion in the context of a budget that is substantial, where 100 to 125 million would be the kind of investment that Dr. Brown mentioned pays 3 times back again to itself.
So is the eligibility then just strictly income-based? Is that the criteria? Is income levels in order to qualify for this?
It's free tuition.
Yeah, but I mean, can I go and take classes?
Yes. I hope so. Yes. If you need another certificate or degree, that's the idea. There's
If
4.
you already have a bachelor's.
Right. If you do not have a AA, 4 years of eligibility to get an AA, and it's open for those workforce certificates, which our community college and technical college system excel at providing to give people an opportunity to change their careers or improve their career outcomes. And so the door is open for a 4-year window or X number of credits, and you don't have to worry about, I can't maneuver through that WAFSA and FAFSA and all those financial aid forms. I know the door will be open for my first crack at a certificate or a degree. I also want to add to the cost range. The low end actually is a little below $100 million to start with, and the range then goes up as you have additional cohorts coming through. So that's where it gets to be $125 million. And the modeling's been done very carefully to say, look, we know that we will increase the number of people enrolling pretty substantially, and the cost estimate includes that. And I want to say, I'm not speaking for my colleagues here, but I serve on the Joint Legislative Audit Review Committee, which looks at tax exemptions every year. And I had proposed closing a few tax exemptions for things like fuel on chicken houses. Not a big priority. The staff, the state legislative auditor, could not identify why we have this exemption. It costs $50 million. I think there are plenty of things that once you say, this is important not only for graduation rates, but this is vitally important for opportunity for everyone in the state of Washington and for our business community to have the certificates and degrees it needs to succeed, that we can find how to pay for this fairly easily when you look at who benefits and what is on the table.
Clarification, did you say that this is a program for people who have no college degree of any kind, or if you have a bachelor's degree and want to change careers, you take advantage?
Right, we're not, no, if you already have a credential like a bachelor's degree, this would not be, that's one of the parameters we put around this. We want to make sure that we're meeting our goals, and the goals are that everyone already has a certificate. Obviously, we can't open it up to everybody, but we think this will be very significant because there are a lot of people who don't have bachelor's degrees, for example, or are going back. So we think that's important. I would just say one more thing on the one more thing on the cost issue. If you think about this, last year we made a commitment to reduce tuition. It will cost several $100 million without an identified funding source. We put that basically into the budget. What we're talking about here is the higher education budget overall is about $3.5 billion. It's about 9 to 10% of our state budget. So we're talking about adding on a percentage to that, probably about 5% to our higher education budget. We're talking about reinvesting in our higher education system through the community college system. That's where this money would flow.
Any estimates on how many people you think might even begin to consider taking advantage of this? And do we have room for them, Dr. Brown? You got seats for them?
We will have seats for them. That would not be an issue.
The estimate is around a 5 to 9% increase in enrollments if you open the door and tell people that they can afford to go to college. And then the other thing that Senator Jayapal just said, it's really important. Excuse me, sorry.
It's okay, Jayapal is sort of the combination, so it's good.
We're also investing in research and data-based student success programs, so that it's not enough to just open the door, but we're going to provide really well-researched and documented programs of student success, saying that if you're part of this program, you will have a student success course, a cohort advising and assistance, including how to obtain additional financial aid so that you know you'll be able to succeed. And it's really important that we invest there as well as just opening the door.
Thank you all so much. If you have any extra questions, I have cards, and you can talk to me, and we can get policy questions. We also have copies of the Senate draft bill there at the end, and then we have just a little one-pager for anybody. Please help yourselves, and kind of gives a description of what the program does.
The House bill will be introduced tomorrow. Chair Hansen from the Higher Education Committee is standing right here if you have questions also. And the ranking member, Hans Zeiger, is also co-sponsoring it.
Do you have leadership support on this, in each house?
Well, we, in the Senate Democratic caucus, obviously I don't have a line to Senator Schessler, and I'm not in his caucus, but we discussed this extensively in our Senate Democratic caucus, and we have strong support from our leadership, and we also have many, many Democratic co-sponsors, which you'll see probably when we drop the bill in tomorrow.
And other than Baumgartner, any other R's?
We're working on it, but I think that's a good start, and we want to reach out, and we definitely want to work with them.
And
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, I was just going to say one thing about the community college system is we know that there are community colleges across the state in every community, and that this really is an opportunity to bring all of our communities, regardless of party, across the aisle, together on this proposal. And you know, one of the first Promise programs was actually in Tennessee, right? It was a Republican state,
Right.
Republican leadership. So this is really, we do not believe that this should or is a partisan issue. This is a bipartisan issue. We have been reaching out to the other side, and really happy that Senator Baumgartner has joined us, and we hope that others will come on board and we can get this done the way we did with the tuition cuts last year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.